everybody. I am back with another episode of Notes to Self, and today I'm going to be talking about three subjects, and one is going to be completely new that I've never talked about, which is investment. The other two are one's a graphic novel called Last of the Dragons, which is a classic, a niche classic, and a film that is one of the most important films of the 20th century called My Dinner with Andre. So I want to start with the investment side first because you know that I've been an entrepreneur since coming out of actually while I was in film school at NYU. I started my company, so that was 17 years ago. Should I even say that? Maybe I'll cut that out. But anyway, we were running for 17 years, and now we have a new tech startup called Real World, and it's pretty cool stuff. And so I've gotten this amazing introduction to the tech ecosystem in the U.S., but it's very, very similar to working in Hollywood in my experience. And one of the things that really set me off to make this little note to myself, and I want to share it because I'm like, this is important, is that about a week and a half ago, there was this tragedy with George Floyd that just brought to the forefront of media a bunch of challenges that the African American community has been dealing with for a long time. And I'm very mixed. I will say that. I am multiple cultures, and I consider myself, a spiritual being having a human experience first and foremost. And I will say that, having a father that has African American and Cherokee descent, I hold that community very dear. And when I see stuff like Andreessen Horowitz, an investment firm a VC firm, venture capital firm that I know a few folks there. I have a dear friend who's well funded by that company, and they were on my radar to collaborate with for our new tech startup. And last week, a little bit more than a week ago, they put out this wonderful. A lot of companies started setting aside capital to really power the African American or Black community. And what they called in an announcement the underserved communities, and that to me was the biggest challenge, because I heard about this in a wonderful newsletter I follow called The Hustle. If you don't follow The Hustle, it's great, so check them out. And they gave you this update, that was on TechCrunch, and it's about Andreessen Horowitz starting this amazing fund. And it's a talent and opportunity fund, and the fund is now closed. They're closed for applications. But I opened up the second I got The Hustle. I found this. I looked through their website, found the link, went onto it, and it was the language that stopped me from looking into the application further, from actually applying myself. And the language of creating an opportunity for underserved people doesn't sit well with me as a person at all, because the language creates an adverse relationship from the onset. And this is not just Andreessen Horowitz, but this is a lot of people that have the best intentions to help a community, and with choice of language are actually creating challenges they're attempting to rectify. I'll say one more thing in terms of a wonderful note, wonderful message that I had received in this amazing book from Lieutenant General M.L. Chibber. It's about essentially working with the community, and he specifically was talking about as a general speaking to the youth that he would call boys gentlemen. And by nature of calling them gentlemen rather than boys, he is preparing them to be gentlemen. So when you're choosing your words to go out to whatever audience that you're looking to connect with, framing them as such, as the desired outcome, to me is very, very important. Obviously, people have challenges. Obviously, we're dealing with those challenges. I mean, it's not obvious to you, then that's okay. You need to educate yourself, but the last thing you want to do is that when you educate yourself is to impose those challenges or deepen that narrative rather than actually healing it with your choice of words. My note to Andreessen Horowitz here is simply stating that please just choose the language with a little bit more intention to uplift the communities that you are seeking to collaborate with. Okay, next up, comic books. Comic books. Okay, so this is called The Last of the Dragons, or Last of the Dragons, and this is super interesting to me because of the fact that it's been around since I was a kid. My dad had it, and I never read it. I actually just picked it up to read it to my son, and subsequently, like he lost some interest in it. It's ninjas, dragons, samurai coming to America. From Japan, having battles with the First Nations here, and if you don't know what First Nations means, that means the native tribes of the land that we call America, because it's you shouldn't call people Native American or American Indian, because that's like fairly insulting. So it's a really interesting book. It's interesting in terms of it is prime for IP development in Hollywood. The ninja is the son of an American man and a Japanese woman, and they call him a half-breed and all this other stuff. I don't ever find the need to mix America or European culture with something else. I think that naturally happens in America, along with all these other cultures. So it's putting it in there to me is kind of counterintuitive. But that being said, there's some really cool adventure in here. The narration is beautifully written, very poetic. It leans very much toward male martyrdom, which I've mentioned in the past. And that's it, with some other books. Mazinger was one of them. And so I'm as I've gotten older, I find it more challenging to sit with that type of energy, because I don't think that it helps us solve problems, especially us us as humanity, but also men in particular. I think it drills down on some things that we need to change about ourselves and what we tell ourselves about what it means to be a man. I also think that the main character in here should have been a woman. There's like next to no women in here. The only one kills herself, commits seppuku. That's a spoiler. So she's a ninja, and she should have been the main character. So anyway, besides that, this definitely has a franchise written all over it. And when you read through it, you'll see why. And it's cool. It's got some cool stuff in here. It's got some great art. And anytime you have ninjas and samurai coming together, I think that's really, really cool. And the fact that they travel to America, I actually think is very, very cool. I just didn't think that they needed any that they needed to have the character be half American. Like, that was completely unnecessary. So cool. Check it out. It's from Epic, which is imprint. Used to be an imprint of Marvel. And Epic put out the Akira books, if you're aware of those, both the Akira comics and the Akira graphic novels, which are different, or the manga, the collected manga. Anyway, so check this out, The Last of the Dragons, or Last of the Dragons, there's no the here. And finally, I want to talk about My Dinner with Andre. My Dinner with Andre is one of the most important films of the 20th century. And I'm pulling up my notes here because I want to read off some really important quotes from this film. I've seen it before, and my parents had this film around when I was a kid, and they didn't want to watch it. They had it on VHS, and they never would watch it with me because they said it was very long and very tiresome. I watched it with my lady, and she might have fallen asleep. It's tough to watch if it's too late, so don't watch it late at night on a weeknight. And when you watch it when you have time to really absorb it, and treat it as if you're going to have dinner with Andre. And when I say that, I mean that, as literally as possible. Like, sit down and have dinner watching this film, and pay very close attention. And there's amazing stuff that they talk about in here, and getting to the point of what that actually is. It's really a meditation on duality. And I'll read you some of the quotes here. So one of which is, the first note I took was that the actor or character, and let's say you as an actor in your life, a character in your life, in the play of life, must always be asking, who am I? Why am I here? What am I doing, and where am I going? So that's one. Another one is that people are in a trance state, hiding their true expressions behind societal norms that are perversions of our true experience. The third one is, don't deaden the audience, bring them to life. whomever your audience is, whether that's next one is someone who is bored is asleep, and someone who is asleep won't say no. That's a quote. Pretty cool. Another idea that they share in here is the concept of building a center of light, a new school for humanity. And finally, as I was saying before, this film is very much a meditation on duality. The film has a balanced perspective between the believer and the non-believer. And when I say believer or non-believer, I mean essentially one who would be positioning themselves to expand their awareness, and someone else who is very comfortable in what they know and is potentially fearful of knowing more, knowing beyond what they're comfortable with, because in that ignorance can be bliss. So really, really amazing film, worth a watch multiple times in one's life. I've seen it before. I had to watch it again. I've been texting friends to watch it as well, because this was made before I was born, a year or two before I was born, and the conversations in there about so many aspects of society, from just how we live, how we behave with each other, to our connection with nature, spirituality, etc., religion, politics, all this stuff. It's a huge deal. So check it out, My Dinner with Andre. And that's it for my little episode today. So sending love to everybody, sending love to Andreessen Horowitz, because I think what they're doing is really, really wonderful. Just a note to of course to shift some of the language there more toward their goal, because I know that their goal is one that is very lofty and beautiful. And everybody, always feel free to reach out to me. I love you all. I'll talk to you soon. If you haven't noticed or seen it, I'm wearing a Benjamin Franklin with a boombox shirt my lady gave me, and under this camera I have Michael Jackson zipper pants on. So it's a good life. Love you.